What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome, exiles, to the Research Institution. So, there are a few things that I think make Path of Exile 2 maybe the greatest action RPG game that we've seen in a long freaking time, or ever. And there's also some comparisons that I think should be made to Diablo 4. And I know, maybe this is a dead fucking horse. I'm curious what you guys have to say about it, but I can't help but wonder, what the hell are these guys going to do to compete with this? Is there still going to be a fan base for Diablo 4? Is it going to be primarily toddlers? Is it going to be the very casual gamers? It's just hard to say, because after you hear some of these points, I think you might be with me on, wow, Iceman, you make some great fucking points. It's hard for me to imagine why the hell I'd go back to Diablo 4. So point number one, and this is really, really big. This is something that changed with Diablo 3, and I think that Blizzard got away with it in those days because they didn't have much competition. They didn't have Path of Exile 2 at the time. They didn't have similar games. It was just pretty much Diablo 2 when it came to the pinnacle, the peak of that genre. And so they could kind of just make things easy on themselves. So what they announced was how enemies were going to level with your character. And on surface value, you're like, oh, that's not a bad idea. That just means I can go anywhere at any time, and I'm always going to be gaining experience and always potentially find upgrades. Sounds good to me, right? Well, you're wrong. Because that is what PoE 2 did. That's what Diablo 2 did. And it made for a better game where enemies don't level with you. And there are set monster levels. Here's the problem. When the enemies level with you, it's always the same fucking thing all the time. You can go to Act 1, you can go to Act 5, you can go to Act 3, and it's always the same shit, always the same difficulty level. And part of the allure in these games is breaking through barriers, breaking through walls, setting records, accomplishing, ascending, if you will. And the problem is, when the monsters level with you in all the areas, there is no sense of improvement. In fact, many say with Diablo 4 that you actually feel like your character's getting weaker as you level. Which is true. If you're not finding upgrades fast enough and the enemies keep getting stronger every time you level, in many cases they start to outpace you. So it totally takes that aspect away from the game, which is one of the most fundamental things about it that make it a good game in terms of feeling progress, feeling strength and power, deriving those things, and becoming godly, basically. So, in Diablo 2, for example, and Diablo 1, let's say Diablo 2, when you made it to Act 3, let's say, the Trav, you'd fight the council members. They'd beat your ass at first, right? And sometimes you'd have to go back, level a little bit, find some gear, and then you could go fight them again. They're the same damn level they were when they fought you last time. This time you're able to kill them. You find some good gear, you move on to Act 4. Then you level up some. And if you want, you can go back and fight the council again and potentially find upgrades. And you start kicking their ass. And it makes you feel strong. It makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel like you accomplished something, which is one of the primary things that encompasses a fucking game. Accomplishment, progress, winning. So it allows you to go back and win. And there's really not much else better than going back to the earlier acts against the enemies that used to kick your ass and just obliterate them. It's like you have a sense of vengeance or something. And then, of course, you can increase the difficulty level, or you can progress to Nightmare or Hell, or in some cases like Project Diablo 2, the modded version of Diablo 2, you can do endgame map systems, which is a great way to challenge your character. But you can always go back to the enemies that you outpaced and do better. And it's just fucking crazy how they did this with Diablo 4. And when they mentioned that, I was like, you know what? God damn them. Why do you got to do that? That's part of the things that ruin Diablo 3. You don't get that sense of strengthening. You don't get that sense of progress when all the monsters in the whole fucking game are leveling with you all the time. It's crazy. It's not a fucking game anymore. Especially if you allow your players to tune up and down the difficulty level. Because then when you're going through the campaign, for example, in Diablo 4, say you get to a boss. Are there even any bosses in that game? They're all like the same enemy, just with different color palettes and different graphics about them. It's the same mechanics underneath. So there's basically one boss in Diablo 4, and when you get to a harder version of that boss, if it's too hard, all you have to do is tune down the difficulty, and then you just blast through it. So all of a sudden, it's not a game anymore. It's fucking crazy that they decided to do this. It's not really a game. So when people ask me, Iceman, what's better, PoE 2 or Diablo 4? What's the better game? I'm like, shit, is this a fucking trick question? Is this a logical fallacy or some shit? Is this a fucking paradox? Because Diablo 4 isn't really a game. It's not a game when the challenge arises and you can just turn a knob and make it easy and just blast the fuck through it. It's a mindless thing. You know, that's what it is. It's just a thing. It's not really a game. Games have challenges and they force you to go against those challenges. So, I mean, holy shit, it's not even really a game. I guess that makes the first point. Point number 2, legendaries are not raining from the sky. In Path of Exile 2, just like what Diablo 2 was back in the day, it's actually rewarding if you find a unique item or a good rare, because they're not constantly bombarding you with them like what they do in Diablo 3 and Diablo 4, where they rain from the fucking sky. And yeah, I know, Blizzard said, oh, we're not going to have them rain from the sky in Diablo 4. We're going to go back to the old ways. But of course, what did it take, a couple of months? And all of a sudden they completely reverted that, which I think is what they're going to continue doing as Path of Exile becomes what it is becoming, which is going to be a full game in the next 6 months or a year. I don't know when, but it's already a more fleshed out game than Diablo 4, as crazy as that is. But my guess is the Diablo team, they're just going to keep leaning it away from what they said it was going to be initially. You remember when they said items weren't going to be raining for the sky? We're going to keep things rare. Now, every couple of minutes, you have to go to town and salvage all the shit. It's just overwhelming, and it becomes a task, and a tedious task at that. So you have all these beams coming from the fucking sky, and it just makes me want to get off and quit. And that's exactly what I did. It just becomes an annoying, monotonous task into nothing. And like Diablo 2, for example, you could find rares that had meaning. You could find magic items that had meaning. Some magic items, there were certain attributes about them that would roll higher than any rare, or in some cases unique, in many cases unique. So you'd still be on the lookout for the blue items. You'd still be on the lookout for the yellow items. They wouldn't just be all garbage after level 5, which is what it's like in Diablo 4. All you're looking for is the legendaries. Everything else is just trash. It's utter trash that you have to continually go to town, salvage that shit, or just don't even pick it up anymore. You'd think they'd give us a fucking loot filter at this point, but no, I don't know if they know what a loot filter is. After all, this game was made by bots, it seems, or AI. Because, I mean, how the hell could they not do that? Any basic players who've been playing these games for 100 hours plus will know you could use a fucking loot filter. So, I don't know. I don't know if Blizzard knows what that is. Maybe somebody should try to tweet them or something. Enlighten them to that concept. Point number 4. 3 and 2 were kind of mixed together. I had the rares, the magic items, the itemization, just what it is in PoE 2 compared to D4 and D3 for that matter. Point number 4, good-looking women. How many fucking times do I got to say this? People like things that are visually appealing. We saw what they did with D2R. They made the Amazon a guy, all right? They made the sorceress a guy. You could say whatever you want about it, but it's just the fucking truth. You can deny it if you want. But the thing is, you're wrong, and your opinion's bullshit if you think that's the case. These guys, they're all dudes, you know? And it's kind of sickening. It's like, damn, I would like some variety here. I would like some diversity here. Why the fuck is everyone turned into a guy all of a sudden? They're driven on testosterone. They're taking that shit in the ass. And yeah, these are just all old, rigid men. You know, and I wouldn't mind to go back to the actual characters. You know, these aren't the same people in Diablo 2. These in D2R. They're different people now. And they strayed far from the art. They strayed far from the beauty. But I know, I'm sorry, Blizzard. I know we can't use that fucking word. But I guess it's a good thing that this video isn't made for you. So it's kind of a big deal. When I look at the PoE 2 ones, you got the Witch, you got the Sorceress, you got the upcoming Huntress, you even got the Dyke chick, what's her name, the Ranger. You know, even she kind of looks nice, you know, in her own way. But the point being is you have selection, you have variety, you have things that you can choose that you either like or dislike. You can make your selections based on that. And they do have big buff dudes, they do have nice slim chicks, and I would say the Witch is probably an 8.5 out of 10. The Sorceress is probably an 8 out of 10, and that's fine, you know. You get different armor sets for them, and they're visually appealing. So it's refreshing to have a company who's willing to do that. When we look at Diablo 4, what do we get? Well, we get the Lunch Lady Druid, and we get the Sorceress who looks like a fucking dude, and we get the Rogue who looks like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Now, I'm okay if you have that shit. You know, it's good that you have characters that are obscure or strange, but it's also good if you give us a choice to have ones that are more visually appealing to the masses. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, god damn, is this really a fucking point I have to have on this list? It's just crazy. This is ancient old realities. People like visually appealing things. Oh, but it's all subjective. Yeah, that's fucking bullshit. It's ingrained in our nature, the certain traits, certain aspects, certain proportions, all that other shit. That's just how it works, man. And you guys all know it. And yeah, we're happy that we have PoE 2 now where they're willing to have good looking chicks. And you're looking at the character the whole fucking time. You know, they're in the center of the screen. You might as well have something that you think looks good rather than something that you think looks bad. Point number 5, methodical combat. Combos. Games like Diablo 3, Diablo 4, 5 levels in, it's just spamming the same damn buttons, just blowing up the screen. And like I said, if it gets too hard, just turn down the difficulty and blow right through it. And it's just the same damn thing all the time. Whereas in PoE 2, it actually incentivizes you to do combos. Like, for example, with my Necromancer, you can make a firewall, and then if you have archers, which are a good synergy with firewall, their arrows go through the wall, and it sets the arrows aflame, and then they do more fire and burning damage. And there's endless things like this in the game, where if you're like the monk or whatever, you do swing, 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 then you do like some jump attack, and then you can like kind of hold back and do like a power swing. There's all sorts of shit that synergizes, and it has to do with variety in your gameplay, where you're not just pressing the same damn single button the whole time. And then, of course, you dodge, you roll. I mean, the methodical combat and the combos are something like Diablo 3 or Diablo 4 do not have at all. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna... Here's another thing that I don't have on the list. I don't know how they're gonna make Diablo 4 good, because the fundamentals of it and the mechanics are fucked up. Like, for example, in PoE 2, you can just run and keep moving while casting your skills, and it's very fluent and organic, and it feels like real combat. I mean, it seems like this is the future of these kind of games, and it just makes everything else feel ancient. Can you imagine going back to Diablo 4, even Diablo 2 for that matter, and in order to shoot your fucking arrows, you have to stop. You know, you're just stopping and shooting your arrows, then you get to go again, then you can stop. Whereas in PoE 2, you can run and shoot and roll, and you're like, it's like real combat. It's just awesome. And then it's a little bit more fast-paced, in fact. It's just unbelievable that a company like Blizzard, they didn't implement something like that in D4, because now the fundamentals are fucked up. You know, I don't think they can change it. With the game engine and all that bullshit, it's like you're going to be stuck casting your damn skills. Whereas in PoE 2, you can do it with the controller, or you can do it with the mouse and keyboard, or the WASD with the mouse. You have 3 different options. The WASD with the mouse, I think, allows for the most control. in the most fluency, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. I just play it like I play Diablo 2, but it's crazy how you can click far away on the screen. Your character will be running toward that area where you clicked. Then you can click on an enemy, click on an enemy, and she'll like shoot at it while still moving in that direction. She'll like turn and blast while she's running backwards, you know? Like that shit goes deep. And that's something that PoE 2 has that Diablo 4 does not. And I don't know how it's going to redeem itself. In fact, I don't know if it's even possible, because of these fucking mechanics that are already embedded in the game. And the last point on this list, the music, the themes, the variations. The music is memorable. The music is amazing in PoE 2. They put a lot of work into it. And the voice acting, they put a lot of work into it. And the variety. I know I've said this in other videos, but you can go to different towns and you feel immersed in them. You know, it's like you go to the fucking jungle town and there's like the voodoo bitches and stuff. And then you go to the desert place. Everybody's garbed up. You got the camels. Go get a little gyro from the stand. This stuff adds for variety, you know, and that's good to have in a game is variety. Whereas D4, it's all the same shit all the time, always. You go to one town to another town to another town. It's just all the same shit, you know. The blacksmith is the same fucking butch bitch, and it's just how it is everywhere. It's just crazy how they pull it away from reality. Like that's part of the nice. That's part of what makes traveling nice, isn't it? Don't people like to travel or something? I don't really like to travel, but they like to go different places to experience different things. You know what I mean? And with a game like Diablo 4, it's all the things, all the time, all at once, in always. So I mean, it's just. You've experienced Act 1, you've experienced them all. You know, there's not even an Act 1 at all. It's all just a big, there's not even acts. It's just a big ass map. When I was playing through the campaign, I was like, am I in a different act? I don't even fucking know. I beat the game, and little did I know, I was like in the 4th or 5th act without even realizing it. Because it's just all the same. It's just crazy how they call this a game. But I'm optimistic for PoE 2. The Huntress looks amazing. It looks like the Java's on. You guys got to look it up. Look at the Huntress gameplay videos. Adding more characters, more acts, more item types. It's just looking good. But if you guys will like this video, let me know your thoughts on these things in the comments below. What make PoE 2 a great game? What could be improved upon it? And how does it compare to games like D4? And what is the future of D4? Let me know in the comments below and like this video if you guys will, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace be with you.